Ambassador to the United States, Oksana Markarova, along with other Ukrainian officials and members of U.S. aid, met in the nation's capital for the first ever DIA in D.C. event. DIA is a groundbreaking and award-winning mobile app that's connected to some 19 million Ukrainians around the world to more than 120 government services and digital documents. It's also been used as a critical platform to support displaced Ukrainians and provide services to those impacted by the war and impacted all over the world. And now Ukraine hopes to scale that solution to more countries all around the world. Now, to speak a little bit more about this, I now want to bring in the Ambassador of Ukraine to the United States, Oksana Markarova. Thank you so much for joining us here on Live Now from Fox. I appreciate it.
Good morning. Good morning to you and all the viewers.
I first want to jump into this DIA event. Some $650,000 in grants now heading towards supporting the innovation and development of similar apps like that around the world. You were there at that event yesterday. What do you make of that? What happened there?
Very important for us. You know, this platform DIA started in 2019, and it was one of the promises of President Zelensky in his campaign to have a state in a smartphone, i.e. to make the governmental services not only more comfortable for our citizens, but also to take away the person between the government and the people and decrease the corruption that way. And we have been quite successful before this full-fledged stage of aggression. But during the war, DIA has helped us to actually provide services to our citizens, regardless of where they are, and also not to lose the data, protect the data. And for the future, this is how we envision Ukrainian future after we win and start rebuilding Ukraine, that not only Ukraine can be this innovative, technological, Ukraine 2.0, and we will leapfrog into this new Ukraine, but also that Ukraine could be a solution to so many global problems. And we can share a lot with the world, not only in food security, not only in energy security, where we can and we will, I'm sure, play a critical role, but also in innovations and technology. I used to say Ukraine is brain and grain. That was about the brain.
Absolutely. And they continue to be a major supplier of the world's food supply, even despite that ongoing aggression there in your nation. I do now want to turn to the G7. We're straight off the heels of that summit. Your president making a visit there as well, garnering support, diplomatic support for that continued support to defend your country. We had positive news off of that after President Biden agreeing to send F-16s over to Ukraine, which I imagine is a positive news for you, although some argue it comes a little bit late. But I do want to say and ask what gaps are still needed then in Ukraine's defenses, despite all the support that you continue to get from the West.
Well, a lot of positive news really from the G7. First of all, to be able for all the leaders to see each other and talk to each other. And, you cannot replace this frank discussion behind the closed doors. You cannot supplement it with phone calls. So it was very important for our president, even though he was on the front lines before, he was on the front lines right after that, to be there. And, we really welcome the decision on the F-16s. It's a very needed and critical capability for this year, but also, for the years to come. So we're very glad that the decision has been made. Now there will be a lot of discussions, of course, not all of them will be public, about how and when and who will be in this coalition. But it's a great decision. What else is needed? I mean, the war is still there. We did not win yet, and we have to win, all of us together. So all capabilities are important. The longer range missiles, the more supplies, everything that we can do in order to be able to defend not only Ukraine, but all the civilized world. And of course, we have to double down on sanctions, all of us together, in order not only to support Ukraine in this fight, but also prevent Russia from continuing this war.
And Ambassador, I now also want to mention Bakhmut, which we're learning, I mean, even since we were working on speaking with you for this interview, a lot has changed there. And there's also a lot of confusion about what's coming out of there. What is the latest on the ground in Bakhmut? Do Russians have control now? And if so, what does that mean for the efforts there in the war?
Well, we just also saw the news from our military command, and they do it on a regular basis. The very heavy fighting in Bakhmut, and not only in Bakhmut, in Avdiivka, in Mariinka, in all the long front that we have in the east of Ukraine, still is ongoing. And Russians are trying to push in all major areas. Russians are also shelling all the neighboring towns and villages. But, our brave defenders still hold positions there and to try to do whatever progress they can, So again, the situation is very difficult. There is very heavy fighting, but Russians are yet to advance. And frankly, I think they have lost possibility to advance since they would take Kiev in 3 days, as they promised at the beginning. So regardless of how hard it is, regardless of how much effort and time it will take, the goal for us is to liberate all Ukraine.
An important message that you and your president have doubled down on time and time again, which obviously leads questions there also about Crimea, which often in the context of this discussion, we talk about the 15 months that Russia began that all-out incursion on your country, but of course Crimea started more than a decade ago. On Russian sanctions, the Federation is now the most sanctioned country in the world. What more can the West do to try to put more pressure on Russia? And is there anything else that anyone can do to help your country continue fighting and to defend its sovereignty?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, we are very grateful to the U.S. for not only taking a leading role in sanctions, but also getting the coalition of the like-minded countries to support them, which is very important. And a lot has been done, but still there is a lot we can do together. So first of all, only 23 of 330 Russian banks are under full blocking sanctions. We have to add more financial institutions. Also, there are a number of oligarchs and very prominent businessmen who are, even according to the investigative journalists' reports, are helping the army effort. They are sanctioned in Ukraine, they're sanctioned in the European Union. We have to add all of them to the U.S. sanctions list. There is a lot, and I want to praise Secretary Raimondo and her team on doing exceptional work on export controls, tightening them, and trying to prevent Russia from getting all the technological items that they need in order to wage war. And there is a lot of work there to continue the implementation of it. So Rosatom, the nuclear sphere, the sovereign assets, which again, great message from the G7 that they will stay blocked by all the countries, but we have to start working on how to seize them, how to make Russia pay for this war, so that it's not just Ukrainian taxpayers, US taxpayers, and all the our partners' taxpayers are helping us, but it's Russia who has to pay for this. So a lot has been done, but not everything, and we still have a lot to work together with our partners.
The German Marshall Fund is hosting its Brussels Forum, which obviously we know the G7, because of the scale of those national leaders and the importance of those national leaders, it gets so much attention. But ongoing today, all this week in Belgium, is that Brussels Forum. Jan Stoltenberg is actually speaking there right now, and he did speak yesterday as well, made some comments on how a NATO forces as well as other Western support needs to continue doubling down on support for Ukraine. My question with this really is what more can be done, and is there anything that we expect to hear out of the Brussels Forum specifically, both on the war, defensive efforts, as well as reconstruction?
My message and the message of our President Zelensky has been very clear and consistent since the start of this full-fledged war. We're very grateful to all of our partners and supporters, and we're asking to stay with us and stay the course, provide more weapons and support to Ukraine, increase sanctions for Russia. But GMF summit is also very important because, like DIA summit in Washington, D.C., we are talking not only about what we need to win the war, but we already are talking about how to join resources, energy, and brains together to win the peace. So a lot of discussions there will be about the future reconstructions. A lot of discussion there will be about demining and how do we rebuild now so that people can stay in Ukraine, people can return in Ukraine, even during this difficult time, so that we can already plan and think about the future.
My final question goes back to the app that your country started. Its name is DIA. I wanted to ask, what does DIA mean in Ukrainian? Why is it so important? And also, it's been likely a rallying cry for many who use that application all around the world now. What does DIA mean?
Well, DIA is something that we Ukrainians are used to now. It's actually DIA is the acronym from state and I. But it's my passport is in there, my driver license is in there. I can sign any document and any request to the government through my app, and I can receive any document almost there. So it's about action. It's about taking everything in your hands and acting. And this is what Ukrainians are doing now on the battlefield. But this is also about every sphere of our life. And whether we are young or we're experienced, as we say in Ukraine, all of us in any age are getting more and more used to DIA. And it's also a very powerful anti-corruption tool. So we are very happy that Vice Prime Minister Fyodorov and his brilliant team developed that tool that we have. And we're also very happy to share it, as you said, with other countries. And we will be doing it more.
Ambassador of Ukraine to the United States, Oksana Markarova, thank you so much for joining us. Any closing thoughts before we let you go?
Just wanted to say thank you to American people. Thank you for all the support that we have received before this full-fledged war, and especially starting with February 24th. It meant a lot to us, and we will always remember the crucial role American people played in supporting us in our fight for freedom and democracy.
The Ukrainian ambassador to the United States, one of Zelensky, the president of Zelensky over there in Ukraine, one of his tightest allies there in America, joining us here today. We appreciate you for joining us here on Live Now from Fox.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you. All right, folks.